Welcome! Today, we're diving into the important topic of eviction notices. Whether you're a tenant or a landlord, understanding what an eviction notice is can help you navigate rental agreements with more confidence. An eviction notice is a formal document sent by a landlord to a tenant, signaling that the tenant must either fix a problem, like unpaid rent, or move out by a certain date. This process is a legal requirement in most places and is designed to give tenants fair warning before any further legal action is taken. Let's break down what this means and why it matters. An eviction notice is essentially a written warning from a landlord to a tenant. It outlines that the tenant must either correct a specific issue, such as paying overdue rent, stopping a lease violation, or vacating the property within a certain time frame. This notice is the first step in the legal eviction process and is required by law in many regions. The document usually includes details like the reason for eviction, the date by which the tenant must act, and the consequences if the tenant fails to comply. Understanding this definition is crucial for both parties involved in a rental agreement. Eviction notices are issued for a variety of reasons. The most common cause is non-payment of rent, but other reasons can include violating lease terms, causing property damage, or engaging in illegal activities on the premises. Landlords use eviction notices to formally notify tenants of these issues and give them a chance to resolve the problem before moving forward with legal proceedings. This step is not just a courtesy, it's often a legal requirement to ensure fairness and transparency in the rental process. Eviction notices must meet specific legal requirements to be valid. These requirements can vary depending on local laws, but generally, the notice must be in writing, clearly state the reason for eviction, and specify the deadline for compliance. Some jurisdictions also require landlords to deliver the notice in a particular way, such as by hand or certified mail. Failing to follow these legal steps can result in the eviction being delayed or dismissed in court. It's essential for both landlords and tenants to be aware of these requirements to protect their rights. There are several types of eviction notices, each serving a different purpose. The most common types include pay or quit notices, cure or quit notices, and unconditional quit notices. A pay or quit notice gives tenants a chance to pay overdue rent. A cure or quit notice allows tenants to fix a lease violation. An unconditional quit notice, however, requires tenants to leave the property without the option to correct the issue. Knowing the type of notice you've received or need to send is key to understanding your next steps. A pay or quit notice is one of the most common eviction notices. It's typically used when a tenant has failed to pay rent on time. This notice gives the tenant a specific number of days, often 3 to 5, to pay the overdue amount or move out. If the tenant pays within the time frame, they can usually stay. If not, the landlord may proceed with the eviction process. This type of notice is designed to give tenants a fair chance to resolve the issue before facing legal action. A cure or quit notice is issued when a tenant violates a term of the lease, such as having unauthorized pets or making excessive noise. This notice gives the tenant a set period to correct the violation, often 3 to 7 days. If the tenant fixes the problem within the deadline, they can remain in the property. If not, the landlord can move forward with the eviction process. This notice is meant to encourage tenants to comply with lease terms while providing an opportunity to avoid eviction. An unconditional quit notice is the strictest type of eviction notice. It requires the tenant to leave the property without any chance to fix the problem. Landlords typically use this notice for severe or repeated violations, such as ongoing non-payment of rent, serious property damage, or illegal activity. The tenant must vacate by the date specified in the notice, or the landlord can begin formal eviction proceedings. This notice is less common, but is used in situations where the landlord believes the tenant cannot or will not comply. The amount of time a tenant has to respond to an eviction notice depends on the type of notice and local laws. For example, a pay or quit notice might give 3 to 5 days, while a cure or quit notice could allow up to a week. Unconditional quit notices often require tenants to leave immediately or within a very short period. It's important for both landlords and tenants to check their state or city regulations to understand the exact deadlines involved. Eviction notices must be delivered in a way that meets legal standards. Common delivery methods include handing the notice directly to the tenant, posting it on the door, or sending it via certified mail. Some jurisdictions have specific rules about how and when notices must be delivered. Proper delivery is crucial because an improperly delivered notice can delay or invalidate the eviction process. Both landlords and tenants should keep records of when and how the notice was delivered. Once a tenant receives an eviction notice, they have a limited time to respond. The tenant can choose to fix the issue, such as paying overdue rent, or correcting a lease violation, or move out by the deadline. If the tenant takes no action, the landlord can file an eviction lawsuit in court. It's important for tenants to act quickly and communicate with their landlord if they need more time or have questions. Ignoring the notice can lead to legal consequences and a court-ordered eviction. Tenants have rights and protections under the law even after receiving an eviction notice. For example, landlords cannot evict tenants without following the proper legal process. In many areas, tenants can contest the eviction in court if they believe the notice is unjust or the landlord did not follow the law. Some jurisdictions also offer additional protections for tenants facing hardship, such as during public health emergencies. Knowing your rights can help you respond effectively to an eviction notice. Landlords have specific responsibilities when issuing an eviction notice. They must ensure the notice is accurate, delivered properly, and compliant with all local laws. Landlords cannot use eviction notices as a form of harassment or retaliation. If a landlord fails to follow the correct procedures, the eviction may be delayed or dismissed in court. Responsible landlords document every step of the process to protect themselves and their tenants. Landlords sometimes make mistakes when issuing eviction notices. Common errors include failing to provide enough notice, not stating the reason for eviction clearly, or delivering the notice improperly. These mistakes can cause delays, legal challenges, or even dismissal of the eviction case. It's essential for landlords to understand the legal requirements and double-check every detail before sending an eviction notice. Tenants can also make mistakes after receiving an eviction notice. Ignoring the notice, failing to communicate with the landlord, or not seeking legal advice can worsen the situation. Some tenants mistakenly believe they can stay without consequence if they don't respond. However, this can lead to a court-ordered eviction and a negative mark on their rental history. Tenants should always take eviction notices seriously and act promptly. A typical eviction notice includes several key elements: the tenant's name and address, the reason for eviction, the date the notice was issued, the deadline for compliance, and the landlord's contact information. Some notices also include instructions for how the tenant can resolve the issue or where to send payment. Using a clear and complete format helps avoid confusion and ensures the notice meets legal standards. Here's an example of what an eviction notice might say. This notice is to inform you that you are in violation of your lease due to non-payment of rent. You have 5 days from the date of this notice to pay the overdue amount or vacate the premises. Failure to comply will result in legal action. This sample shows the importance of clear language and specific deadlines. It's important to understand the difference between an eviction notice and an eviction lawsuit. An eviction notice is the first step, a warning and an opportunity to fix the problem. If the tenant does not comply, the landlord can file an eviction lawsuit in court. Only a judge can order a tenant to leave the property. This distinction protects tenants from being removed without due process. If a tenant does not respond to an eviction notice, the landlord can file a lawsuit in court. The court will schedule a hearing where both sides can present their case. The judge will review the evidence and decide whether the eviction should proceed. If the judge rules in favor of the landlord, the tenant will receive a court order to vacate the property. This process ensures that both parties have a chance to be heard. An eviction can have long-term consequences for tenants. Once a court orders an eviction, it becomes part of the tenant's public record. This can make it harder to rent in the future, as many landlords check for past evictions. It may also affect credit scores and the ability to secure housing loans. Understanding the impact of an eviction record highlights the importance of resolving issues early. The best way to avoid an eviction notice is to follow the terms of your lease and communicate openly with your landlord. Paying rent on time, respecting property rules, and addressing issues quickly can prevent misunderstandings. If you're struggling financially or facing other challenges, let your landlord know as soon as possible. Many landlords are willing to work with tenants who communicate honestly and proactively. If you receive an eviction notice, don't panic. In many cases, you can negotiate with your landlord to find a solution. This might involve setting up a payment plan, agreeing to fix a lease violation, or even arranging for more time to move out. Open and respectful communication can help both parties avoid the stress and cost of legal proceedings. If you're unsure about your rights or how to respond to an eviction notice, consider seeking legal advice. Many communities offer free or low-cost legal services for tenants. A lawyer can help you understand your options, represent you in court, and ensure your rights are protected. Don't hesitate to reach out for help if you need it. There are many resources available to help tenants facing eviction. Local housing authorities, tenant unions, and nonprofit organizations can provide information, support, and sometimes financial assistance. These resources can help you understand your rights, negotiate with your landlord, and find alternative housing if needed. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Support is available. Non-payment of rent is the most common reason for eviction notices. If you're unable to pay rent, contact your landlord immediately to discuss your options. Some landlords may offer payment plans or temporary relief. Ignoring the problem will only make it worse. Acting quickly can help you avoid eviction and protect your rental history. Lease violations can include things like having unauthorized pets, subletting without permission, or causing disturbances. If you receive a notice for a lease violation, review your lease agreement and take steps to correct the issue. Communicate with your landlord to show you're addressing the problem. Quick action can often prevent further legal steps. Significant property damage can also lead to eviction. If you're responsible for damage, it's best to repair it or work with your landlord to find a solution. Document any repairs you make and keep receipts. Addressing the issue quickly can help you avoid eviction and maintain a good relationship with your landlord. Engaging in illegal activities on the property is a serious lease violation and often results in immediate eviction. Landlords are required to maintain a safe environment for all tenants. If you're accused of illegal activity, seek legal advice right away. The consequences can be severe, including criminal charges and permanent eviction records. Sometimes, landlords issue eviction notices when a lease ends and they do not wish to renew. In these cases, the notice usually gives tenants a set amount of time, often 30 or 60 days, to move out. This type of notice is not necessarily due to any wrongdoing, but is part of the normal rental process. Always check your lease and local laws for specific requirements. No-fault eviction notices occur when the landlord needs the property for another reason, such as selling or moving in themselves. These notices still require advance warning and must comply with local laws. Tenants are usually given more time to move out in these situations. Understanding your rights can help you plan your next steps. If a property is deemed unsafe or uninhabitable, landlords may issue an eviction notice for health and safety reasons. This could be due to structural damage, mold, or other hazards. In these cases, tenants may be entitled to relocation assistance or other protections under the law. Always document any unsafe conditions and seek help if needed. If a property is foreclosed, tenants may receive an eviction notice from the new owner or the bank. Laws often require special notices and timelines in these situations. Tenants should seek legal advice to understand their rights and options. Some areas have programs to help tenants stay longer or find new housing after foreclosure. Landlords may issue eviction notices if they plan major renovations that require the property to be vacant. In these cases, tenants are usually given advance notice and may be entitled to compensation or relocation assistance. Always check local laws to see what protections apply in renovation situations. Sometimes, landlords want to move into the property themselves or have a family member move in. In these cases, they must provide a special eviction notice and follow local laws regarding notice periods and tenant rights. Tenants may have extra time to move or receive relocation assistance, depending on the jurisdiction. Unauthorized subletting is a common lease violation that can result in an eviction notice. If you're considering subletting, always get written permission from your landlord. If you receive a notice for unauthorized subletting, address the issue immediately to avoid further legal action. Overcrowding or having more people living in a unit than allowed by the lease can lead to an eviction notice. Landlords must ensure the property meets health and safety standards. If you receive a notice for overcrowding, discuss options with your landlord and take steps to comply with the lease terms. Creating a nuisance, such as excessive noise, illegal dumping, or disturbing neighbors can result in an eviction notice. Landlords are responsible for maintaining a peaceful environment for all tenants. If you receive a notice for nuisance, address the complaint promptly to avoid further action. Having pets without the landlord's permission is a common lease violation. If you receive an eviction notice for unauthorized pets, check your lease and talk to your landlord. Some landlords may allow you to keep the pet with an additional deposit or fee. Resolving the issue quickly can help you avoid eviction. Smoking in a non-smoking property is another reason for eviction notices. If your lease prohibits smoking and you violate this rule, your landlord can issue a notice. To avoid eviction, follow the property's smoking policy and address any violations immediately. Using a residential property for commercial purposes without permission can result in an eviction notice. Most leases prohibit running a business from home unless approved by the landlord. If you receive a notice for commercial use, stop the activity and discuss your options with your landlord. Making significant changes to the property, like remodeling or removing fixtures without permission, can lead to an eviction notice. Always get written approval before making alterations. If you receive a notice, work with your landlord to resolve the issue and restore the property if needed. If a tenant fails to renew their lease or sign a new agreement, the landlord may issue an eviction notice. This notice usually gives a set period for the tenant to move out. Always communicate with your landlord about lease renewals to avoid misunderstandings. Landlords may need access to the property for repairs or inspections. If a tenant repeatedly refuses access, the landlord can issue an eviction notice. Tenants should always cooperate with reasonable requests for access, as outlined in the lease agreement. Repeated violations of the lease, even if minor, can add up and result in an eviction notice. Landlords need to maintain order and protect the property. Tenants should take all warnings seriously and work to correct any issues before they escalate. In summary, an eviction notice is a formal legal document that starts the eviction process. It gives tenants a chance to fix a problem or move out before legal action is taken. Both landlords and tenants have rights and responsibilities throughout this process. Understanding eviction notices, acting quickly, and communicating openly can help prevent misunderstandings and protect everyone involved. Always check your local laws and seek help if you need it.